Donald Trump is making yet another move that, of course, is going to screw over red states more so than blue states. And that is his expressed desire to cut the Office of Community Planning and Development by firing up to 84% of their staff. Now, the Office of Community Planning and Development is, of course, a part of the Housing and Urban Development, Department of Housing and Urban Development. And it may not seem that important, right? You may be wondering, like, okay, well, what does this have to do with red states? Is it for low-income housing? Actually, it's not. You see, this group that Donald Trump is about to cut by 84% is in charge of filling the gaps that FEMA can't afford to fill after natural disasters here in the United States. Right now, that group that Donald Trump is about to axe is currently working in North Carolina to help people rebuild their homes, to basically give them the money to rebuild their homes after Hurricane Helene months ago. Now, Donald Trump campaigned on a promise that he was going to help North Carolina rebuild, right? He was going to help all the areas devastated by Helene rebuild. And since he got inaugurated, sworn in, here's what he's done. About a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago maybe, the state of Georgia said, hey, we need more funds to help clean up and rebuild from Helene. So can we have more funds? And the Trump administration came back to them, as I reported at the time, and said, no, you can't. You're done. But thanks for asking. Okay, well, that was just Georgia, right? That's one red state that actually went against Trump in 2020, so maybe that makes sense, right? Kemp and Raffensperger wouldn't go along with Trump's lies. Maybe that's why he did it. And then he turns around and basically does the same thing to North Carolina. That, of course, is still reeling from the devastation of that storm. I know I have relatives in Lake Lure, North Carolina, which was one of the hardest hit areas from the floods and winds and everything. And Trump, in spite of his campaign promise, is basically telling these people, I'm taking the recovery away from you. This opportunity you thought you were going to have under me, an opportunity I told you you were going to have, has evaporated because I felt like it. There is no rhyme or reason or actual justification for cutting this vital office. None of it. It's not like it's sucking up the entire federal budget, not even 2% of the federal budget. But it is a desperately needed function of the federal government because, again, it fills in the gaps that FEMA can't afford to fill in. Oh, and by the way, Trump has also said, let's get rid of FEMA. This is an extension of that. Getting rid of any and all federal disaster response because Trump wants to give it to the states. Y'all deal with your own disasters. Well, most of these states actually do not have the money to be able to do that. Meaning homeowners, you lose everything. Oops, you're on your own. That is what he is telling these people. And as I said, this affects red states more than it affects blue states. Why? Because red states actually have more natural disasters than blue states. It's that simple. You look at all these states down here and up along, part of the East Coast, the areas most likely to get hit by hurricanes every year. You got Texas, you got Louisiana, right? And they go through Louisiana, they can hit Arkansas. You got Mississippi, you got Alabama, you got Georgia, you got Florida. They make their way up to South Carolina, North Carolina, sometimes Virginia, Tennessee. Those are red states, right? Those are heavy Republican areas. And statistically, yes, they pull more money from FEMA than the rest of the country. In fact, Texas, Louisiana, and Florida are the three top recipients of federal natural disaster aid, all three of which are also ardent Republican states. So Trump is not only breaking his campaign promise, he's going even further by straight up screwing over the people that put him back in power. And next time you have a natural disaster, which, given, hurricane season's really right around the corner, it's going to be pretty soon. So just keep in mind, when you apply for that federal aid and it doesn't show up, just remember that Donald Trump did that to you. Thanks for watching today, everybody. And don't forget, if you're not already, please do subscribe to this channel. We have fresh content going up every single day, and I would really hate for you to miss out on that. And speaking of missing out, if you're not following me across all other social media outlets, then get on it. You can follow the links in the description of this video.